bottom of the table, wooden spoon contending, cheating, sanctioned clubs. Is the West just a complete joke compared to the East?
The East is running the league right now.
With this most recent week of results, we saw the Leagues Cup final happen where Columbus just basically put the spanking on LAFC. And then now LAFC coming in and putting the spanking on the Sounders. And I really wanted to pose this question, Ari. It's just a complete joke compared to the East. How big of a talent gap is there compared to LAFC and Inter Miami and LAFC and Columbus?
I don't know about complete joke, but there's certainly a pretty big gap right now. I still think like they're flying a little bit under the radar right now because Messi's been hurt and like they haven't really had their full complement of players. But like I still think Inter Miami is the most loaded MLS team I've ever seen, and I still think that they play the best ball that I've ever seen an MLS team play. I saw a tweet from somebody, I can't remember who, that I disagreed with. That's why I'm bringing it up. They like after the Crew won, they said like Columbus clearly plays the best soccer of any MLS team they've ever seen. Don't think so, man. I think this Inter Miami team on their day, you might disagree with me, no? A lot of people might disagree with me. I would take Miami in a one-off over Columbus. Like, assuming full strength, I would. And I would not feel very much like anxiety about that pick. Like, and you have to... I'm assuming like Messi is full go operational. I'm assuming the Barca boys are all healthy. So like if any of those variables come into play where it's like a depleted or injured Inter Miami team, then yeah, like the Crew for sure can win. But like an Eastern Conference championship between those two sides, like I would pick Miami. All of that's to say like Columbus is very much like they have a good argument for being considered on that tier. They actually have the trophies to show for it this year. So like, I'm basing it just on like eye test of like the type of soccer that they're playing. But Columbus, they play, if they don't play the best ball in the league, they easily play the clearly second best ball in the league. And they won MLS Cup and they won Leagues Cup.
Yeah.
So like those two teams right there are clearly the best in the league and they're both in the East. Cincinnati, before they got destroyed by injuries, were I think probably just as good as LAFC in the Galaxy.
100%.
Definitely as good as
I think they were better.
They easily, I don't know. LAFC Cincy is a good debate at least.
Yeah.
But
that's like team number 3 in the East.
Yeah, exactly. And then even getting down to the year that the Red Bulls are having, that's where it becomes more like they could be like a team in the West.
Yeah.
But like they're still having a really good year. But I think that top 3 of Miami, Cincinnati, and Columbus are definitely, I mean, that's better than the LA squads and Salt Lake. Like really right now in the West, like the LA squads are running it, and the Galaxy, for as much as we as much credit as we've given them on this pod, like they've shown signs of fraudulence at times, and I think LAFC basically still runs the West. So no, I think there's something to what you're saying. Like the East is definitely a lot better.
Yeah, like, and the way that I wanted to also approach it to you is like, let's look at the table here. 5, 6, and 7 in the West. Seattle Sounders, Vancouver Whitecaps, Portland Timbers. You have the Pacific Northwest conglomerate. 4, 5, and 6 in the Eastern Conference. New York Red Bulls, New York City FC, and Charlotte FC. There is a very large skill gap, in my opinion, or just quality gap right now, between the Red Bulls, NYCFC, and Charlotte versus Seattle, Vancouver, and Portland.
I don't know. I think the Red Bulls are better than those. I think NYC, they're a big upside team. Like they look really awesome at times, but they're a very young team that's susceptible to taking bad results because of their inexperience.
They do troll a lot of draws.
And then Charlotte, I kind of see as a team that's pretty much on that exact Seattle, Vancouver, Portland level. So like, I think the top is much stronger.
They're
then once
heavy.
you get into the mids, it's pretty comparable. But like the top of the East is just so much better than the top of the West.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, then if you look at the bottom, Chicago Fire, Nashville, DC versus Sporting St. Louis and the Earthquakes. I still think the East beats out there, but that's like dang.
That's a tough
some
list.
of the worst teams.
It's funny looking at this right now. Chicago, Nashville, and DC all have the exact same record.
Yeah.
And pretty similar goal differentials. They're all having like the exact same season, which is kind of interesting. But no, I mean, it is the East is running the league right now, and I fully I think LAFC, if they have to go, if they have to travel for MLS Cup to Columbus or Miami, like I don't think they're winning that.
I guess I wanted to ask too. I feel like this shift happened in the last 3 or 4 years, because I think in the past the West was pretty heavy-handed, and I'm sure that this is the cycle of the league. But do you remember or have any note of when you think that switch kind of happened?
I feel like it's sort of been in the last 2 to 3 years where it became more stark, because Columbus has really only gotten insanely good in the last couple years. Miami has only gotten insanely good in the last year or two. And then Cincinnati was one of the worst teams in the league for a while. So
Same as Miami.
These are teams that, these are teams that are have been on the ascent for the last 1 to 2 years and are now at their apex. So I think it's sort of just kind of how teams have cycles, right? And all three of those teams, their cycles just kind of lined up at the same time, and they all just happen to be in the East. But from 2014 to 2020, I'm sure if you actually went back and looked at it, it would fluctuate by the season a little bit, which conference was stronger. But I feel like the West definitely was stronger than it has been this year, where this is kind of the weakest I can remember the West being in a long time.
Yeah, I agree. I thought last year the West was pretty weak, but for me, I don't know. I think the only team that can even compete with the top of the East is LAFC, and clearly they can't.
Yeah, they haven't shown that they can. I mean, the crew have the best goal differential in the league. Just looking at the table right here, it's it just seems pretty obvious that it's honestly Miami and Columbus who are running it right now.
Yeah, which I guess I'll cement this segment with a Sounders-related question. If we see a team like FC Cincinnati and Inter Miami go from bottom of the table, wooden spoon contending, cheating, sanctioned clubs to God mode world beaters, do we think the Sounders can do that? And is that going to happen whether we spend a lot of money or not a lot of money?
Yeah, it can happen. Fortunes can change very quickly in MLS. And really all it takes is, I think when you have the foundation that Seattle has, some of the players that they already have in place, hitting on one big attacking signing, that'd be huge. That could boost this team a lot, So I really, it's just a matter of if they're able and willing to do that, But I guess I might see it a little differently than some people in that, I think there is a lot of work to do with the roster. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's crazy far off. They just need to actually do that work and not keep putting it off. But MLS, as much as any league with the salary cap and how it's set up, your fortunes can change on a dime with
one good signing.
By hitting on realistically, Seattle needs to hit on 2 of their next big signings, and they need to be big hits to get there. But that's doable. It's not impossible.
Right.
You just have to do it.